Hi. I'm making a video about everything I watched in January at the end of February. Hi, I'm Lydia and I'm Film Probe, and I wanted to share everything that I watched in January 2025. I know I'm late and I will be doing a February one as well, but I felt like I couldn't do February without doing January, so I'm just going to tell you January now, and then you can watch the February one right after. Easy. So I started 2025 really positive and optimistic. I was like, I'm going to watch as many films as I can. I'm going to be really committed to this year, because sometimes I can, like everyone, refrain to watching the same stuff over and over again. Like, I'll put on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, The US Office, and I'll just watch the same stuff because it makes you feel like comfort, right? I feel like it's something to do with maybe anxiety, or I don't know, but you feel safe when you're watching the same stuff over and over again. But I needed to stop myself from doing this because it's such an annoying trait when there's so much out there that I should be watching. Film Probe's been watching a lot of films, which is self-explanatory. I should have been doing that anyway. I'm just gonna pop up all the films I've seen this month, in January, on this page, pop them up everywhere, because I just want to show you everything that I watched. I was really good in January. I watched 12 films, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's pretty good for me. I also watched 8 TV shows, which is pretty good for me too. I usually watch more TV. I'm also not including those annoying repeats that I was talking about earlier, like The US Office, It's Always Sunny, Seinfeld, like the shows that I put on all the time. I actually rewatched Glee recently, like the whole of Glee. Like, why am I wasting my time rewatching something like that? I don't know. The beginning of January, I started with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Part of me, looking back at the film, feels like it could have been 5 out of 5, but I'm going to go with what I gave it after I watched it, and I gave it 4 out of 5. My remembering of the film, because I just want to give you a really brief outline and whether I recommend you watch it or not. The film was absolutely aesthetically beautiful. Robert Eggers as a director is very known for his aesthetic. He loves black and white, he loves shadow, he loves continuous shots. He rarely cuts a scene, which I love about Robert Eggers. He'll move the camera to give you so many different angles without cutting. And I think it's so intelligent. I love it. So aesthetically, Nosferatu is one of the most beautiful films. I remember coming out the cinema and saying that was like a piece of art come to life. It felt like a painting that was moving. It was so beautiful. Story-wise, for anyone who's a cinema fan, you know the original Nosferatu movie came out in 1922. That's a staple piece of cinema. Very, very special piece of cinema that just means so much to the German Expressionist movement and how we interpret vampires and that kind of a cult in cinema and on screen. So the original Nosferatu is a really special movie, and I was a bit fearful of this film when I first heard about it. I did think, oh my god, why are you touching royalty? Why are you touching a film which does not need to be remade? But I was so wrong. This film was amazing. I would rarely go back and watch the 1922 version, but I would probably watch the 2024 version tomorrow because I loved it so much. Lily Rose Depp was incredible. Her physicality as an actress was amazing. Nicholas Hoult was incredible. Obviously Bill Skarsgård played Nosferatu. He was so amazing. He's becoming the king of monsters. And yeah, I highly recommend you watch this film if you haven't already. It's very dark, it's very atmospheric, and it's creepy. It has some kind of horror thriller tones, a few jump scares, but I really thought it was beautiful, and I definitely recommend it. It's a film you should watch, 100%. The next film I watched in January was A Real Pain. I gave this film 4 out of 5 stars as well, and similar to Nosferatu, after coming away from the cinema and thinking about it for a few more weeks, it could have probably been a 5 out of 5 movie, but I gave it 4 out of 5, and I'm going to stick with what I did. But A Real Pain was written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg, and starred Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. And I wasn't expecting to love this film as much as I did. I thought it would be a quirky indie kind of comedy. Knowing Jesse Eisenberg and his previous works, he's got this very quirky delivery to him. So I was very much expecting that through this film. And even though it was there, because that's his acting style, this film had so much emotion. It was so beautiful in so many ways. It was a story about family, loss, grief, relationships, growth. Like it just had so many themes. The screenplay was something that I was just in awe of. I thought it was written so well. The dialogue was beautiful, and the two actors together as a duo was like magic. Kieran Culkin was incredible, and Jesse Eisenberg was just as brilliant. I loved this film. It brought me to tears several times. I was a bit of a mess when I came out the cinema because it just had so much soul and so much heart, and a very, very memorable film. Another one that I highly recommend you see. One of the best out of 2025 so far, but one of the best that I've seen this year. Probably, would it be the best I saw in January? Maybe. I'll tell you what the actual best was at the end, but it might have been a real pain. But yeah, I loved it and I highly recommend it. It's an emotional journey. It'll have an emotional impact on you, especially if you've dealt with grief or loss in any way. Beautiful. Loved it, recommend it, watch it. The next film I watched, which I won't talk about for very long, is called Getaway. This is a 2025 movie and it starred Nick Frost. This movie was on Amazon Prime. I'm not going to spend any time talking about it because I gave it 1 out of 5 stars. So that should really tell you what I thought about the film. I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was really basic and predictable. It sounded so promising from the plot line when I read it. It was about a family that go to this kind of really rural place, and yeah, some weird kind of culty things happen there. It's your really, really basic standard story, and even though, and I won't spoil anything just in case you want to watch it, which you shouldn't, even though they had a twist at the end, the twist was still really predictable, and I was just really disappointed by the film. I was expecting it to be really funny with Nick Frost in it, but it was not. That's all I'm gonna say. The next film I watched was called A Different Man, which stars Sebastian Stan. This movie was incredible. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm not regretting that decision now. It was a 4 out of 5 movie. It was beautiful. It was a story. It was such a complex story. I don't even know if I can talk about it briefly. It had so many layers to it. My interpretation of this film when I came away from it was about masks and personas and personalities. I found it was such a brilliant representation of both the physical appearance of somebody on the outside, but also who they are behind that mask, who they really are as a person, and how you don't necessarily see that sometimes from the outside. It was a really heartfelt story, but it also had a lot of dark comedy in it. It was performed really well by everyone in the cast, and it was funny and light-hearted, but also really gritty. So a brilliant one. The next film I watched was Sing Sing, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars as well. January was a really good month. Everything was really good in January. Sing Sing stars Coleman Domingo, who is just amazing. I've fallen in love with Coleman Domingo. I wasn't really that familiar with him as an actor before. I'd watched him in Euphoria, the TV show, and he's brilliant in that. But in this, he is the glue keeping this film together. Like, he really is the core of Sing Sing. And what an incredible actor to have in that film to carry it. He carries all the weight of that film. It's a story of incarceration and rehabilitation, and all based off of real people and a real program, which I found absolutely incredible as well. I didn't know until the end of the film when they kind of told you a bit more about it. But Sing Sing is another film I highly recommend you watch. For the acting performances, but also the story. It was really moving, really beautiful, unforgettable, really. I was really drawn into it and taken by it and moved by it. And yeah, Sing Sing was a really, really beautiful film. Amazing. I also watched Champions, which was a film that came out in 2023. I gave that 3 out of 5 stars. I also watched a film called Back in Action, which came out in 2025, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars, so kind of dropping off here. Both of those films were okay. I don't really want to spend too much time talking about them because I watched some better stuff, but if you want to read my reviews, I have like reviews on Letterboxd or on my website, so go read those. But they're sweet family movies. They weren't great, but they weren't really bad either. They were like middle ground, okay. The next movie I watched was Saturday Night, 2024 movie. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Saturday Night was a film based on the first night, or the opening night of Saturday Night Live. And this film, honestly, was a laugh riot. I loved it. From the second it started to the second it ended, I was genuinely just like, this is amazing, laughing out loud. I thought the film was really well done. It was chaotic, it was fast-paced, there was a lot going on. It was this idea of the preparation of the show before it went live. So everything was going wrong, nothing was going the way it should have been. People were all over the place, you know, trying to get their sketches together, trying to practice this, lights were falling down. Like, when I say chaos, I mean chaos. From the second it started to the second it ended, chaos. I also watched Night Bitch, which was a really, really interesting one. I was expecting to enjoy Night Bitch more than I did, just because I'd read so much about it, but I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, by the way. It's a story about motherhood and that kind of animalistic feeling that you have. But for me personally, it didn't hit me in that way. But I appreciated that it had every potential to. So maybe one day, if I'm a mum, I'll come back and watch Night Bitch and maybe I'll give it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know. And then after Night Bitch, I watched Emilia Pérez. A moment of silence for Emilia Pérez. Oh god. It's not a joke, it's not funny. This film has been nominated for 13 Academy Awards. Somebody out there loves this film, and that's amazing. But I wrote a really amazing review about Emilia Pérez on Film Probe. It's on my Instagram account, but it's also on my website. So please, if you want to hear all of my really cohesive thoughts about Emilia Pérez, I highly implore you to go read that, because I poured my heart and soul into that review. Emilia Pérez has a lot going on, and I did not enjoy it. And I gave it 1.5 stars, okay? Some people think that's extreme. I don't. I think it being nominated for 13 Academy Awards is extreme. Just saying. I'm quite disappointed with the film. I went into it thinking, am I gonna like this? And yeah, I did not. But if you want to try it because everyone's talking about it, give it a go. But please let me know what you thought. Anyway, moving swiftly on. The next film I watched was called Blink Twice. This film came out last year and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this film. It was directed by Zoe Kravitz. I'm pretty sure it was her directing debut. Maybe got that wrong. Maybe I should research that before I say it, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think I'm right. No, I got to look that up. I was right. And it had Channing Tatum in it. Really cool film. I, again, wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, but it was a really brilliant, like, crime thriller. I will say with this film, before I recommend it to anyone, major trigger warnings, very intense themes, very heavy themes, very disturbing themes in this film. And you don't expect it at all. Well, I didn't anyway. I wasn't expecting it to twist the way it did at the end. It shocked me. And I ended January on Balloonerism, which is a short film inspired by the music of Mac Miller. It was a really, really interesting film to watch. I think if you love Mac Miller's music, you're easily going to love Balloonerism because it is his music come to life. And a really beautiful tribute for somebody. But yeah, January was a really good month for movies for me. Honestly, it's really difficult to pick the best movie I watched in January. I think I would say it's between Nosferatu, A Real Pain, and Sing Sing. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I should have thought about this before. I think the best movie I watched in January 2025 was A Real Pain. I absolutely loved it, and that is the film I recommend to you the most. It's the film I recommend you go to the cinema and watch right now. And I also think that it's going to steal a few Oscars, which I'm very excited for, hoping for, I'm putting it out in the universe now, Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor. That would be great. To the Oscar gods, please. Yeah, I'm not putting any other predictions out there because whenever I get it wrong, people make fun of me, so. Also, I won't discuss all the TV I watched, unless that's something you're into, but I am film probe, so I feel like I concentrate more on films, and over the year, I'm planning on watching more and more movies each month, so I don't want to bore you with all the TV I've watched too, because then that would just be a lot of talking. But what I will say is my favourite thing that I watched in January 2025, which was called The 8 Show. It's a Korean drama on Netflix. But the 8 Show was really interesting. It was very much like survivalist game show, very similar to like Squid Game, Alice in Borderland, those kinds of vibes. Only got one season, but I watched it back to back. I thought it was amazing, so I highly recommend you watch The 8 Show. That was everything I watched in January 2025. I hope this video was interesting. I hope you got a cool recommendation of something you may not have watched yet, and now you're going to go away and watch it, because that would make me really happy.